Peter, you've got clients ranging from IBM to Glossier using the product. How does it work?
Yeah, so Segment helps the brands that you love, the Glossiers of the world, the Levi's of the world, really deliver a great customer experience. And the way we do that is we help companies unify all of their data that exists in their four walls into a single construct that then they can use to deliver that experience. And because it's all the data within their four walls, we really also help them with customer privacy and managing all those privacy preferences across their global brand. And I think these companies are starting to realize that they need something like Segment because CRM is no longer enough to deliver what they need to their customers.
And you're seeing legacy companies, more legacy companies like Salesforce scrambling into this industry, and overall investor interest seems strong. What is driving that?
Yeah, well, I think if you look at the historical industry, like CRM is obviously a huge category. If you go back 20 years to like a bank branch and you walk into a bank branch, the branch manager is going to know who you are. They're going to know your business. And that's because they've been using a CRM. But if you fast forward to what this looks like today, when you call the bank or you open the mobile app, they have no idea who you are. And that's because the sort of world that we're operating in has shifted very much from an in-person situation to an online world where you have touch points across help desks, CRMs, mobile apps, websites, et cetera. And in that world, the CRM is not enough. And so I think what you're seeing from an investor perspective is that CRM was a huge category, but now it's a small portion of all the data that's out there. And there's a new category emerging, which is going to help companies solve that issue. So you're right that a slew of large sort of legacy tools are sort of scrambling to glue together their acquisitions and make a play here. But the reality is it really requires a fresh take.
This question to you, Anne. Segment is a company, no offense, Peter, that many people might not have heard of. Now it's worth more than $1 billion. Why do you think investors are getting more interested in these startups that aren't household names, enterprise startups specifically?
Right.
Yeah,
so right now you have, one thing is right now you have a lot of attention focused on the consumer-facing companies. You have IPOs from Lyft, Uber, Pinterest, Slack, a lot of attention around that. But what venture investors are talking a lot about right now is these companies that you might not have heard of that are kind of the next wave. These enterprise-facing companies that are focusing on businesses rather than consumers as potentially driving a lot of growth and having a customer that's willing to pay a lot of money and willing to pay a lot of money reliably.
Now, Peter, your company talks about protecting data, privacy preferences, first-party data. Obviously, this is a big concern right now. What do you do differently when it comes to how you handle your data than you think that other companies do?
Yeah, so specifically when you look in the realm of privacy, there's a group of companies that are called data brokers, and these are companies that buy and sell data with abandon. We think those companies are super sketchy, and that's not what Segment does. We're only interested in helping companies understand and make use of the data that's within their four walls, so how they interact with their customers on their websites, in their stores. We're basically helping them manage the data from that direct customer experience and give a more authentic, better experience based on that data within their four walls. So that's the first piece.
Now,
the second piece is that if you're a global brand and you've spread across many regions, across many sub-brands, it can be really challenging to appropriately recognize customer preferences around communication and privacy and how data is shared. And so you actually need some sort of infrastructure in order to understand and roll those out globally across all those different sub-brands, and that's an area where we help. We help drive consistency across global brands and how they respect those preferences.
So a question for you, Anne. It seems like we have been minting unicorns faster than usual lately. Do you get a sense that a number of startups out there are trying to raise money before the economy tanks, or is this because of a flood of venture capital into the system?
Yes, I think you're seeing a lot of these billion-dollar-plus companies. I mean, for example, EasyCater, which delivers food to businesses, just raised a $1.5 billion or $1.25 billion valuation, and they said they didn't really need the money. They were just raising just in case the economy tanked and there was a funding winter. And then, one thing these startups are thinking is that worst-case scenario, when the apocalypse does come or the economy does go down, they'll have this money in the bank just in case.